Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final battle in our campaign for Cherbourg. In Ben's last battle, he was down here in Valganese, and again, I am sorry for the pronunciation. His army is now headed up this roadway to the port city of Cherbourg, which is vital to the Allied offensive here to have a supply port to bring in supplies from England. And this battle will conclude our campaign.
All right. So here we have our squad freshly leveled up from the red mission that we completed the other day. And we have all of our supplies back, all of our health refilled, some upgrades here and there. No special notes for this mission, but the town has a fun one. As soon as I activate this location in front of me, the small town, and I think I'm ready to get started. So I'm going to spend an action to activate the small town and pull in the 4 hostiles needed. That'll be a mechanized and an armor unit. And now activates the town of Cherbourg's special ability, where one of these guys will be wounded at random. I'm going to say the mechanized on a low roll, the light armor on a high roll. Ooh, change my color. But I rolled a 6 there, so that is a wound on the light armor. Okay. Now, moving forward with the rest of my artillery's turn. I'm going to spend a supply to try and finish off that armor. Yeah. Since the mechanized is last. Oh, a 9, so I do hit, but let me get my d6 here as well. A 3, and because of my upgrading, my artillery has a base penetration of 2, which is enough to get me up to 5, and an extra skill that pushes me up to a penetration of 6 for that roll. So that is another wound to the tank, getting me 2 XP. The white mission is, the white location that I'm fighting through right now is going pretty well so far, especially since the other guy is a last unit. But now it's all about how much of the infrastructure I can keep, which I think I'm going to take really soon here. I'm going to move the tank in, paying a supply. I move in for free since my movement is up. So the tank moves in and immediately gains the supplies from the infra. 1 going to my tank, 1 going to my artillery. Then the last one goes away. Then the tank is going to fire at the mechanized. A 3-1. Well, because my tank is so special, the 1 goes up to a 4 because I have 3 to my pen. And the 3 is not quite enough, so it is just a pin there. But I was only 2 away. It was remarkably close. I'm going to push my mechanized up, also moving in for free. And going to do 2 attacks. A 1. I add 2 because of the mechanized, bringing me up to 3, and then another one from the pin. So I defeat their cover, but do not hit. So 1 more pin. Final attack from the mechanized. Pretty good odds. Still penetrate. Oh boy. That is 1 more pin on the mechanized. Hopefully my infantry will be able to finish them off. So my infantry is going to move in, discard 3 action cards. Okay. And then do 1 attack versus the mechanized. Okay. So the 1 gets brought up to a 4, defeating their cover. The 3 gets brought up to a 9, so it is enough to wound the mechanized. I'm then going to do a discard and draw to see what I get here for my infantry. Nothing super great. I think I'm going to activate my artillery then to try and finish them off, which automatically happens because I hit on a 4, so the lowest I could possibly roll is a 7, and with 2 additional penetration, they just fall over, gaining me 2 XP. Okay. An easy first location, bringing my turns down from 13 to 12. And then I think I don't even need to refresh myself at all. I think I'm just ready to move on to the hedgerow maze. So I will get all my actions back. And pay 2 supplies and an action. Pay 2 supplies from my infantry. And an action from my artillery. And another 4 XP of hostiles comes in. We got a 3 XP infantry and a 1 XP artillery. So the artillery shows up here because it's 1 beyond frontmost, and the heavy infantry are also in the hedgerow maze. I think I want my artillery up a little bit, so I'm going to pay 1 XP and discard 3 action cards to get my artillery up into the small town location with me. And yeah, I'll discard these ones. Okay. So next we have the artillery attack. I'm going to try and take out their artillery. Pretty good odds too, since yeah, that's 6, naturally what I need, so just 1 wound on their artillery, killing them, gaining me 1 XP. And then their first guys would go, but I just killed their only first guy. So now it's back to my first team, and I'm going to activate my engineering company and try and interact with the heavy infantry in buildings. My engineering company is going to try and blow a wall off the building. So I get 1 point of engineering, which I will place on this unit. And based on their special note, they can, if I place an engineering obstacle on them, I wound them, and I can do that up to 3 times. Okay. That's my fast step. Now my regular activation happens. I'm going to push my tank forward. And paying a supply and an action, and then a regular attack. Oh, and an XP because I'm moving into the hedgerows. And unless I want to discard a whole bunch of action cards, I'm going to need to help walk my soldiers through that area. So, with my 1 attack versus the heavy infantry in buildings, I roll a 5-7, which is enough to penetrate, is enough to hit. I'm going to pay 1 supply for an additional wound, so that 1 wound attack turns into a 2 wound attack. Okay, so my tank is activated. It is now over to the heavy infantry in buildings. They are targeting the soldier with the most pins. None of my guys have any pins, so I get to pick. I'm going to have him target my tank, since he will need to roll a 6 on his d10 to hit, which he does not. He misses with his penetration. He also misses with his hit chance, since he needed a 6 or higher, and that is his 1 action. So a full miss, no pins on me. Next, I'm going to push my mechanized in, paying an XP, Yes, I was at 3. And then attacking 2 times with my mechanized. Ooh. That does defeat cover, which does place another wound on him. But a fun thing about these heavy infantry in buildings is they have 3 supplies that they're going to be using for their defense, and their defense number is pretty good on a 5. So let's roll for their defense for these last 3 attacks. Okay, the first one, successful. The second one, unsuccessful. Nope, on a 5. They need a 5 or higher, so that is also successful. And then for that final attack, another success. So they went from very wounded to no problems at all. That also means for their attack, which I did, they get another action. So they're going to be attacking my tank one more time. A 7, which does hit, but a defeat cover of 1 does not. So they put 1 pin on my armor. Okay, so those 3 wounds go away, and they have acted. Okay, my mechanized is going to finish out their turn, doing another wound to the heavy infantry in buildings. They have no more supplies to defend with, so I can just keep on hitting them until they're dead. I'm going to push my infantry into this location. I'm going to use a free army move to save that action, and then pay 1 XP and discard 1 card to get them in. Okay, so with 3 actions, I'm going to start with a discard and draw. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I did get a gain time, but I'm not too worried about time on this mission, seeing as how these first 2 locations have been pretty quick. Okay, I can play a flank attack. I just moved, so I am going to add +2/+1 to my attack against this infantry. And a 5 does defeat cover, but that 1 does not hit, so just a pin onto them. And then I think I will do 1 more attack. Actually, I'll gain a supply since 2 is a little low, but I will immediately spend that supply on activating my artillery battalion. 6, 7, that is enough to hit and pin. And there we go. Oops, and yes, my infantry moved into the hedgerow maze. Okay, end of turn 12, on to turn 11. I'm going to get all my actions back, and then my artillery probably should move in again to the hedgerow maze.
And unfortunately, they get their supplies, and because the heavy infantry is the only one, all of the supplies go to them, filling them back up to 3.
Yes, thank you for the reminder. That is shown here on the mission card with, they're supposed to get 4 supplies. And yeah, with the only unit, they get all of them. So for my infantry then, well, if they're in the hedgerow maze, then I don't want to be in there with them. I guess I'll just attack from range. I'll start with my engineering company, see if they end up hitting. Interesting. Okay, so I got a really high roll, getting me 2 engineering points. But the question is, the card says the engineering obstacle is worth 1 to inflict a hit on the infantry, but I got 2 engineering obstacle points, so do I inflict 2 wounds, or I just complete the engineering obstacle one time,
Right.
only
You just
inflicting
complete
1
it
wound?
one time. So
Yeah.
even though so just a 1 point.
Okay. So they still roll for their defense here, trying to shrug off that 1 wound, which they do. And I'm going to keep on attacking. I only need them to fail once. All right. Okay, that is a hit from my artillery onto the infantry, so they're going to defend again, which they do. And then I'm going to move my artillery up. I'm going to spend an XP and discard one of the action cards. And then I'm going to move their counter. Okay, so they are in the hedgerow maze with me. And all of my fast guys have gone. Now it's time for my slow guys. I'm going to have my mechanized finish off these heavy infantry. Alright, even with a roll of a 2-1 with 3 pins on them, they are not doing so great. So I do penetrate, and then adding 6 to my roll, I get a result of an 8, which does hit. So they try and block it with their last supply, which they do. So I'm going to attack 2 more times with my mechanized. So a result of 1 on my d10 still hits since I'm adding 6. All I need is a 7. So that is a final wound to these pesky bridge defenders, blocking 6 wounds. My goodness. They absorbed 10 hits of attacks just from their defense numbers and their cover and their extra health. They are certainly intimidating, but a 3 XP hostile should be intimidating. Okay, finishing out my turn, I'm going to activate my tank, remove a pin, gain a supply, and gain... Yeah, they're pretty full on action cards, so I'm going to gain 2 supplies for my infantry. Okay, that is the end of turn 11, on to turn 10. So 3 full turns for each of these next locations. I think I'm still going to go pretty quick. I think I'm just going to go right into this next location, and then if I'm still doing really well on time after this location, then I'll hang back and refill all of my units with supplies and action cards and all that. Okay. Another great thing is still no wounds, so all of my units are still at full strength. Very good to see. Okay, let's deal with this old town. I'm gonna spend 2 supplies from my infantry, an action from my artillery, and 6 XP of hostiles are coming in. Looks like there's 1 armor unit and 1 infantry. Ooh, this infantry also has an engineering obstacle. Very fun. And both of them are in the old town. Okay, an infrastructure of 2, which I'll probably only be able to get 1 of, since I am going to be artillery attacking into there. I'm gonna try and target the armor. Ooh, I gain 3 XP for killing the bridge defenders, which is important because I'm going to upgun this attack 2 times because of my skills. So now with attack 1 and attack 4, both upgunned, I'm going to be adding 3/3 to my roll. So 3 to my attack roll, 3 to my defeat cover, and with my artillery, I'm adding 5 to my defeat cover roll, which is plenty on both accounts, so I do 1 wound and 1 pin versus the armor. And then my engineering company goes, trying to work on this bridge defender. Ooh, an unlucky roll, no result. Okay, end of my fast step. Neither of them have fast. I'm going to push my armor in, spending a supply, and attacking their armor. I also discard one action card for that. Yeah, so let's attack their armor. Oh, wow. Great roll. That 5 goes up to an 8 because of my base 3 penetration from my armor. And that 9 turns into an 11, which does 2 wounds, but I only need 1. Killing the armor and gaining 5 XP. Then they activate. The bridge defenders are coming at my armor. Attacking them, they get a 7. That 3 goes up to a 5, but nowhere near hitting my 8 cover. So they just put a pin on my armor, and they attack again. A 9 hits again, a 3 up to a 6 does not, so another pin on my armor. Okay, bridge defenders have activated. Over to me, I'm going to push my mechanized in. I will discard this, as I will not need it. Oop, my tank is in there, my mechanized just moved in. So my mechanized is attacking the bridge defenders. A 2 goes up to a 4 because of my base penetration. Not quite enough, so just a pin on the bridge defenders. Another attack. Ooh, a 5 naturally beats their cover of 5, so that is a wound onto the bridge defenders. Okay. That then goes to my infantry, and that's a lot of cards to get in there. I'm gonna play my supply card back here, giving me 3 supplies for the cost of 2 XP. I'm gonna give 2 of the supplies to the artillery, and I'll keep 1 for myself. And then I'm gonna do a discard and draw. Get myself up to full so I can charge into that location. Okay. I need to discard 4 of these cards. I will keep the free infantry attack and the rear area artillery for safekeeping. Oh, that was that action. Now I use my attack action now that I am in the old town. Yes, because I did a discard and draw for my first. I'm moving for my second action, discarded all those cards, and now my attack action is to attack the bridge defenders. Ooh, not a good roll. That is a clean miss. But I will attack again with this action card. Discard. Okay, much better. That 4 goes up to a 5 thanks to the pin, and that 7 goes up to a 9, both of which are enough to hit, placing a wound on the bridge defenders. Okay. Then we are on from turn 10 to turn 9. Get all my actions back. Then, for my artillery, I'm just going to keep on shooting at the bridge defenders. A 7-3, my +3 to penetration, plus another pin, easily overcomes. So that is another wound on the bridge defenders. I think I'm going to spend my second action just to gain my supplies back, since I do not need to keep attacking them with the artillery. My mechanized is then going to go and finish off those bridge defenders. A 2-2. I add 2 to my pen because of the mech, and then another one from that pin. So not enough to hit, but enough to penetrate, giving them a pin. my second action. That 8 is enough to hit, so another wound on the bridge defenders. Ooh. Right before I do that, during my fast step, I'm going to activate the engineering company, see if they roll a 9 or higher. Complete miss. Oh well. The mechanized kills the bridge defenders, so I miss out on the nifty bonus, but I do discard them. Would have been a good bonus for the artillery to use, since that would be where they're shooting at the objective from, but alas. Okay. Clean up the board here. And now my tank is going to get rid of one of its pins and gain a supply, and then my infantry is going to gain a supply and then do a discard and draw. Oh, through the action card deck. Reshuffle that. Okay. So, got a fresh new hand of 6 cards. And I think that's the end of turn 9 and on turn 8. Okay, a really good mission so far. And yeah, my guys have pretty full supplies. I'm missing 2 here, and my artillery could use some action cards again, but he's always so valuable to shoot. Yeah, and I think I'm just gonna jump right into the scattered forest. I'm gonna get all my actions back for turn 8 and activate the scattered forest. I gain 3 supplies, so that fills me back up in that regard. There we go. Can't even use the last one. Okay, so 9 XP of hostiles. Ooh. Okay, so we got this 1 infantry, this 5-point armor, and then I'm going to need another 2-point thing. There we go. An artillery, that's fun. Okay, so the artillery goes all the way up to here, the armor is here, and the infantry is behind rearmost. Alright, it's not too bad. Okay. I'm going to activate my artillery first, of course, trying to shoot at these harassing infantry, since they're going to be taking my turns away. An 8-4 is enough to hit, so a wound and a vuln go on to them. But I have no more actions from my artillery, so that ends my first step. Over here, I want my armor to start shooting at their armor. But I also want them to be softened up a little bit, so that way my armor has a better chance of hitting. But before any of that happens, their artillery gets to go. So they're going to be targeting my mechanized and infantry. Well, just one of those, actually, since they only have the 1 action. They have a 10-3, that's going to bust right through my mechanized, so I'm going to have them target my infantry. A 5-9, a devastating 1 hit and 1 pin. I guess I'll try and pay a supply to try and block it. Ooh, a fail there. So I get 1 hit and 1 pin on my guy. And that's the end of their first step. And then Now it's over to my normal activation. I'm going to start with my mechanized. Oh. Well, that actually does mean they hit better. Okay. So I'm reading this scattered forest note. Since it's so dense and forested in this area, the infantry get a bonus, which actually means my infantry hit better than my mechanized does. So I'm going to push my infantry forward into that location. I'm going to play a general advance with an XP, giving +1 to everybody's movement, because I have a feeling everybody's going to be trying to move into that shattered forest. Oh yeah, this will be really great. And then I'm going to discard 3 action cards. Yeah, these 3. And then I have 2 action cards left. I'm going to pay a supply for rear area artillery. I'm going to try and soften up their artillery. 4-7. Yep, that is 1 wound and a pin to their artillery. Should be easier to deal with next round. My infantry is in, and I'm going to attack twice. Okay, and with this +2/+1, that 6 goes up to an 8, which is exactly what I need. Funnily enough, that if I moved my mechanized, the 7 wouldn't have hit, but because I used my infantry, it did. And then I'm going to attack one more time with a Vuln. Oof, that one does not do me any favors. So that is my infantry done. Their armor goes next, and they're targeting my infantry. They would have hit him from range 1 anyway, but they're just going to hit him from range 0. And they're going to attack 3 times. So I better get those supplies ready, because I'm going to need them. So their first attack, a 5-3. That is 1 wound to my infantry. I'm going to shrug off a supply. Try hoping for a 7. Not quite. A wound goes to me. They attack a second time. An 8-2. That 8 goes up to a 10 because of my pin. So I suffer 2 wounds. I'm going to spend a supply and try and block a hit. Super close, almost a 7 there. So that's 2 wounds onto my infantry. And then they're going to attack a third and final time. And a 7 goes up to a 9, almost another 2 hits. And I'm going to spend a supply and try and block it. There we go. 1 wound blocked. So now I've got 4 wounds on my infantry. Yeah, turns out tanks versus infantry, the tanks end up doing a lot of damage.
It looks like on the location cards, do you have your unit counters 1 and 2 kind of switched?
1, 2. Yes, I have been treating my infantry
Okay.
as 1 and my artillery as 2.
Yeah, because
Hopefully.
I glanced up there and thought it's kind of weird that the artillery's leading the charge.
Yeah, hopefully that didn't cause any too much confusion for the viewers. Okay, so that's their normal activation. Now I get to activate both my armor and mechanized. I think I'm going to still try and soften them up with my mechanized. Thanks to my general advance, both my armor and mechanized can move in for free. So my mechanized moves in and starts attacking their armor. All I need is a 5. A 5 hits, but a 4 only goes up to a 7. 2 because of my mechanized, 1 because of the pin. So just another pin. And then another attack. Oof. Yeah, that's nothing. Okay. So that ends my mechanized. Still my regular activation step. My armor's going to move up, paying a supply and an action to do so. And it's going to try and do a super attack versus the armor. I'm adding 5 to my penetration and 4 to my attack rolls. So I'm guaranteed to do 1 wound, and I'm gonna do a 2nd wound because of my supplies. If I get that 9 or higher, though, oh yeah. Okay, so the 7 goes up to a 11 because of the pins. That does 2 wounds. I'm going to pay a supply to make it 3 wounds, and then the defeat cover of 5 goes up to 8 naturally because it's a tank. So that one-shots their armor, 3 wounds in one go, giving me 5 XP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And unfortunately, by the ways that the cards were drawn, I wasn't able to use this commander ability. But as a reminder, when I kill a unit with this commander keyword, I get the bonus in the right side. So in this case, it's -2 supplies that I inflict on one of their other units. But as you can see, both of these other units do not have supplies. Okay, so that is a dead tank. And that is all of my units' activation. It took everything I had. So now it's their last step. And since I was so focused on their armor, this infantry is still back here harassing me. It moves into the location with my artillery, but more importantly, it takes an entire turn away from me, going from turn 8 to turn 7. And then, because it's actually the end of the turn, from turn 7 down to turn 6. Now I get all my actions back. Okay, and I also pay the retain cost, which is 4 XP for my rear area artillery. And now, my
Luckily,
artillery.
at the start of this next turn, you'll be able to use your engineers to hopefully regain a hit, maybe on the infantry or something.
Yeah, that's the hope. So my general advance goes away. Unfortunately, okay, so the original plan was to have my artillery run away from the screening infantry into the old town, but I don't have enough action cards to do that at the moment. So my artillery is going to try and get some action cards to help out. Drawing 4 and then spending 4 to move to discard to pay for the entrance of the next location, and spending an action to move. Then the engineering company is going to try and get some of that regen, which it just barely does. A 3 is a 1 success, which is all I need to heal 1 away from my infantry. It is currently in its lower stat block at the moment, but hopefully I'll be able to play my shake it off to heal it back up to its higher stat block. Okay. Next up, we have our regular activate. Oh no, we have their first turn. So this artillery is targeting my mechanized, but it is wounded, so it shouldn't be too bad. Hopefully it doesn't end up healing itself. Would you look at that? So on a 5 or less, they retreat and regain, but because they are in the objective, they cannot retreat, so they just regain. And they inflict a pin on my unit, but they don't get to remove theirs since they didn't fully miss. So they take the hit away because they regained, and they put a pin on me because they defeated my cover. Okay. Next, I'm going to activate my rear area and artillery battalion. Oh, right, I'm out of supplies since I tried to defend so much from my against the armor. So I guess just the rear area for now, trying to take out the harassing infantry. 10-6, that is plenty. I get 2 XP and discard the infantry. Okay. Next, I'm going to have my armor try and shoot at the artillery. Yeah, this should go reasonably well. I auto-defeat cover. That 4 is not enough, so just a pin. The 4 goes up to a 6, but then back down to a 4. Up because of they have a pin on them, down because I'm an armor shooting at range. So hopefully this attack goes a little bit better. There we go. That 7 is plenty to hit. Actually, that 7 goes up to an 11, down to a 9, which a 9 is enough for me to do a double hit. So 2 wounds on the artillery, taking the artillery out. 2 XP, 1, 2. And then the rest of my units get to do a discard and draw, getting to do 3 action cards. Okay. They get a supply dump, a make do, and a fighting position. That'll be interesting. Maybe I could set up my armor or something in a fighting position in the scattered forest. Okay. So that ends my turn 6 on to turn 5. My artillery is in a great spot. I'm going to have it gain a supply and do a discard and draw. 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then my infantry, well, I guess it's going to use its supply dump. And it's going to gain 3 supplies. I'm going to keep 2, give 1 to my armor. So that's the supply dump. And I guess I'll use the make do for myself. When that just says I get to add 1 supply to anyone who's not full. Not going to retain my rear area, so I'm just rear area artillery, so I'm just gonna discard that. My engineering company is going to try and activate a fighting positions, which it fails. My armor is going to remove a pin and gain a supply. And my mechanized is just going to remove the 1 pin that it has. All right, it's almost time for the final objective of this campaign. I've got pretty decent units. My infantry are still a little punched up from the big scary tank that it fought. But I think, yeah, I'm going to pay an action and an XP here at the start of turn 4. Get everyone their actions back. And pull in 13 XP of hostiles. Okay, 4, 7, 8, 9, 13. 13, yeah, that's what we need. Okay, drag all these guys down. So we have a mechanized first in this location, an armor last in the objective, a engineering company, a support unit in the objective, adding 2 to its entrance cost, a infantry hanging out with this armor. I will put it on this side just so you will guarantee to be able to see it, and a mechanized as well. All 5 of these units are in the objective capture Cherbourg. All of my attacks targeting units in the location add +2/+1. What else should I keep an eye out for? They do have a first unit and a last unit. Their first unit is a nifty mechanized. Their last is an armor. We have a unit with some defensive supplies. 2 units with defensive supplies. And then 1 unit with some offensive extra range. All right, I think that is pretty well set up. Now I'm going to decide who I'm going to target first with my artillery. I'm going to target their first guy. So, gonna spend an action and a supply. Ooh, a 4, that's a pin, but that 1, nothing you can do to save a 1. So that is 1 pin on their first guy, and then their first guy goes. They spend a supply to gain a range 1 ability, and then they're going to be targeting my highest MP unit, which is my armor. So they're shooting. They add 2 to their pin, which gets them up to a 7, not quite an 8. Their 1 is a miss, so they remove a pin. And then they attack again. A 3/5, that is still a miss, and yeah, the 5 is still a 7. So not much they did against my armor, flinking right off all of the cover that they have. Next, let's see. Only this screening infantry might enter my scatter forest. Unfortunately, they will not leave this armor until the armor is dead. So I am going to target probably their mechanized. I guess I should take out their engineering company, but it's not too big a deal. I can leave it for a turn or 2. So I'm going to target their mechanized. And yeah, I'm going to do it from range. Okay. Attacking, I get a 4/6. I defeat their cover.
Oh, and also, I don't know if you took that into account with your die roll, but remember that when you're attacking into Cherbourg, you get +2/+1 on everything.
Yes, right. So that still the +2/+1 mostly cancels out my armor's negative from shooting at range. So really, it means that I'm only adding 2 to my penetration instead of a full amount. So that still is just a pin since my attack roll of a 4 stays a 4. But let's see what the next attack does. So that 3 adds 2 to the roll because of the pin, another 2 because of the Cherbourg, and then -2 because of my tank. So it goes up to a 5, which is enough to do a wound. But the d6 roll of a 1, well, okay. So I'm adding 4 because of my tank and the Cherbourg card, and then I'm subtracting 2 from that. So I add 2 naturally. That gets me up to 3. And then this pin is enough to do a wound. Oh, right. And with that first attack of a pin, they roll for their defense, but it's super unlikely. They needed an 8 and they failed. So that is 1 wound on the mechanized mayor group. But I'm going to pay a supply, and I'm going to make it 2 wounds. Okay. That is my tank's activation, and then the Mayar group mechanized goes, they're going to be shooting at my infantry. They're going to be shooting only once since they're in their lower stat block. They do defeat cover, and then they rolled a 4, which gets brought up to a 6, which is not enough to hit, so they retreat and regain 1. Which, funnily enough, gets them a second action because it moves them up to their higher stat block. So do they get a second attack, Dan, since they, like, move to their higher, they get their second action, or do they, like, their turn was over as soon as they used their one action, and then it doesn't matter what their attack is?
Right. A unit uses its actions and it has at the start of the turn. So even in this case, like if it heals up, it does not regain that extra action.
Good to know.
And the same thing goes for your forces.
Gotcha. Okay, so that is 1 wound shrug off of the mechanized. I'm going to push my mechanized into their location because nobody is going to be leaving Schurberg. So I naturally can just get in there with an entrance of 3. And I'm adding +2/+1 since I still am attacking hostiles in this area. Now they just get bonuses against me. And I'm going to first, I think I'm going to try and finish off the mechanized. Well, yeah, this guy won't matter too much. Targeting the mechanized. A 4/1, not enough, even with adding 4 to my roll. So another pin. Then I attack again. So this is the end of my mechanized turn. An 8/3, that is plenty. That does a wound to the mechanized. Okay. Then their screening infantry goes. They're attacking my mechanized, since that's the only person they can target. A 3/3 is a miss, and they don't defeat cover, so not a problem. Then my infantry gets to go. I'm gonna shoot with my artillery first. Probably again targeting their mechanized. 7/1, but with the 2 pins, that 1 goes up to a 5, and I only need a 4. Another wound on the mechanized. Then my infantry. Ooh. I guess I'm gonna move them in. There's not much else they can do. Okay, yeah, I'm going to discard 3 cards to get them in. That'll be these 3. Discard. Infantry is up. That's its action, and then it's going to try and attack on a 10. Well, I guess I'll have them target the engineers. 3, so they do defeat cover, but unfortunately didn't quite roll that 10 they needed. So, and I pay a supply, of course, for the artillery. So that's my turn. Oh, I didn't use my engineering company. My mistake. Yes, and I do want to hopefully get this fighting position. So, I'm going to activate him. A 3, barely successful enough to activate this fighting position, giving my artillery +1 on their attack rolls. Okay. Finally, this deploying armor activates. It's targeting my armor, which is pretty scary, but it shouldn't be too bad. They are adding 3 to their penetration, which brings it up to a 6, which isn't enough, thankfully. Thank goodness it isn't, because it would have taken away a third of my tank's health in one go, because it would have done 2 wounds. Thankfully, it is just 1 pin. And then they attack one more time, now adding +2/+1 to their roll. That is plenty to penetrate, but now they missed on their attack roll. So that is another pin on my armor, which is really bad because next turn, the mechanized will be targeting my armor and this deploying armor as well. So could start getting bad for my armor here. We'll just have to wait and see. Done with turn 4, on to turn 3. Gonna get all my actions back. Okay. So my artillery. So I am holding off on finishing this mechanized off for a second, and you'll see why here soon. But I think it's time. I should finish off that. Well, no, I was going to finish off the engineers, but my infantry can probably do that. Currently, the entrance cost is 5 for this location, but I'm probably not even going to move my tank in there, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem. I'm going to start targeting the screening infantry. It's 1 supply. A 6/3, I defeat their cover. I naturally hit. Don't even need any bonuses. 1 wound, 1 pin. They have nothing to block it. I'm going to attack again. Another wound and pin. So they are on the brink of death. Nothing my engineering company needs to do. Oh, right. My P-47 shorties. Almost forgot that they existed. I'm going to activate 1 this turn on the first mechanized. Well, luckily, P-47s are so good, even a roll of a 1 is still a wound. So that is 1 wound to them, which they cannot block. And now they go. So this mechanized, it gains its supply back at the beginning of this round, and then immediately spends it to attack my high MP. High MP means health. Oh, which actually still is my armor since it's at full health. Okay. So a 7/6 is pretty rough. That is a whole 1 wound to my armor. It's basically guaranteed of lots of bonuses. Okay, my armor is hit, but it only gets its 1 action because it is wounded. And now it is my normal activation. Okay, now I'm going to target this mechanized. I'm adding 4 to my roll. So that 4 goes up to an 8. Not quite 2 wounds, which would have been a guaranteed kill. They still get a chance to defend against it with their supply. And thankfully they fail. So that kills this mechanized unit, but because they have a commander ability, I gain a bonus. This bonus is the again keyword, which means that another one of my units gets to activate after my armor has activated. So instead of them getting to go, I get to go again. So hopefully I'll be able to kill their infantry and they won't even get to attack back. So yeah, I'm going to try and target their infantry with my second tank shot. On an 8/3, that defeats their cover, and yeah, with 2 pins, that 8 hits, killing the screening infantry, gaining an XP. All right, certainly starting to thin out that objective.
Now my mechanized gets to go, since I have the again keyword. Okay, I'm going to take out the engineers. That 5 goes up to a 7 thanks to the pin. Killing the engineers, getting 1 XP. My mechanized is then going to start going after the armor, so that way, well, never mind. The armor has 2 defense, and yeah, I don't have the firepower to take it out this turn, and it's just going to get that defense right back. Well, that would have done a wound to the armor, but that does a wound to the mechanized instead, killing it, gaining 4 XP. 1, 2, 3, 4. And dang, a kill for each actions. 4 actions in a row. My goodness. Armor and mechanized working in tandem. Okay, mechanized shot on the armor. And nothing. Almost a pin, but not quite. Okay, I'm going to activate my artillery, spending a supply.
Oh, that one attack that you just did might have actually hit because
Yes,
you
with
get the plus. Yeah.
the Shorebird, right. Yes, then with a 4, that goes up to a 6 because of my mechanized, and a 7 thanks to Shoreberg. So they do spend a supply to try and block it. Which they fail. Excellent. So now my artillery gets to fire with a pin to help. That is a wound and a pin to the armor. It's going to use its last supply to try and block the hit, at least. Oof, and fails. Yeah, I guess all of the good defense rolls went to that bridge defender at the beginning. Or the infantry and buildings. Okay. Now my infantry get to activate. They're going to do just 2 attacks. Hopefully get some extra pins on them. A 5 up to a 7 up to an 8. Well, okay, that might actually hit because that 5 adds 6 to the roll, 2 for Shorebird, 4 for pins. So the 5 hits with the attack number, and the cover number hits as well. Oh yeah, doing the second wound of the 2 wound tank, killing it, gaining me 3 XP. Yeah, adding +2/+1 against all hostiles really helps out in the objective. Clearing out this town of Cherbourg, capturing it for the Allies, and officially ending this campaign.
That is awesome. I really liked how that ended with the intense combat. Just by having like a little modifier there in the objective, it really intensified the combat and brought things to a great conclusion.
Yeah, lots of extra hits going around. And yeah, a good campaign overall of a really strong finish there. The red mission really brought me to my knees, but luckily I was able to repair enough to give this final mission a great shot.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching this, and we welcome your feedback and questions. And if there's any specific videos you'd like to see illustrating different things, please let us know.